Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders are advised that this program contains images and voices of people who have died.
There needs to be a system in this country where there is equality with the Aboriginal people.
No justice, no peace, no racist police!
We are on the cusp of having treaties for First Peoples of this state.
For decades, First Peoples around Australia have been calling for treaty.
What do we want? Treaty! When do we want it now?
Binding, negotiated legal agreements that would formally recognise that Aboriginal nations existed here for thousands of years, that sovereignty was never ceded, and that grave harm was inflicted during colonisation.
Through treaty, we're getting ready to hand back the decisions about Aboriginal people to Aboriginal peoples.
Treaties might also include frameworks for self-government, political representation, land rights, apologies or compensation.
The main game is sovereign treaty and reparations.
Often promised but never delivered.
There shall be a treaty.
Processes are getting started in the Northern Territory and Queensland, but Victoria has made by far the most progress, launching a treaty authority to oversee negotiations.
The treaty process is now live. We're open for negotiations.
All right, we're good to roll?
My name's Jida Clark. I'm the chair of the Treaty Authority in Victoria.
Well, Jida, what's the significance of this moment for the nation?
Treaty is something our mob have been advocating for generations. It's really about addressing the fundamental relationship between First Peoples and the state. It's about looking at the past, looking to rectify the injustice, but really building a better future, not only for First Peoples communities, but ultimately all Victorians and the nation.
Since 2016, the Victorian Labor government has been inching towards treaty.
New Zealand have successfully done it, and it's time for Australia to step up.
New laws were introduced in 2018.
Walk side by side with us on the path to treaties.
By 2019, Victorian First Peoples elected a group of Aboriginal leaders to guide this process. The now 33-person First Peoples Assembly represents Aboriginal people and traditional owner groups across Victoria. The Assembly pushed for the Yoorrook Justice Commission, a truth-telling inquiry to document past and ongoing injustices to inform the treaty process. In 2022, the Assembly and the Victorian Government agreed on the need for an independent umpire to oversee negotiations.
They established this body called the Treaty Authority, and I'm one of 5 members leading that body. And this body's an independent facilitator, hoping to keep the parties accountable and making sure the process is transparent and that they're playing by the rules.
Jida comes to the authority as a lawyer and senior public servant. The other members of the All Aboriginal Authority include Victoria's first ever Commissioner for Aboriginal Children and Young People, as well as a health researcher, a cultural advisor and a professional mediator.
The 5 Aboriginal members are appointed because we're really influenced and abiding by the Western legal system, but we're bringing into the fold Aboriginal culture and Aboriginal law so that the two systems and worldviews can speak and come to an agreement. This is really around peace building.
Now that you've launched, what will be the role of the Treaty Authority?
The Treaty Authority will be overseeing negotiations, will be helping resolve any potential disagreements that come up in the process, and really making sure that they're abiding by what's called the Treaty Negotiation Framework. That's really our rule book. It describes in detail how traditional owners can come to the table and negotiate. It's really about making sure there's an equal playing field.
Historically, it hasn't been, with a long legacy of governments ignoring recommendations from Aboriginal advisory bodies. Ahead of her appearance at the Truth-Telling Commission, the Victorian Premier acknowledged the treaty process is supposed to put a stop to this.
It won't be that same pattern of history, because the way the treaty negotiations have been structured, the way they've been designed, we have that independent umpire, the Treaty Authority, to oversight the work. And so this has been structured in a way to, if you like, break the pattern of the past.
Victoria could end up with not just one, but multiple treaties.
There can be 2 types of treaties that can be negotiated. One is a statewide treaty that will look at addressing probably systemic matters across all of Victoria. There's also local traditional owner treaties that can be negotiated at the local level.
Are you looking at any international examples to see how this has worked elsewhere?
We're also looking to learn from and investigate and research other jurisdictions like Canada and New Zealand to look at their modern treaty making processes. We want to make sure we're building upon that and really making the most just process and fair process happen in Australia.
So what attracted you to being a part of this process on the Treaty Authority, and why is it so significant?
I've spent my life looking at the treaty process and being aware that treaty's been on the agenda from Aboriginal people and the movement, but also other Australians, to really achieve justice for Aboriginal people. I know that it's so important, not only for our communities in Victoria, but really leading the way for the nation in a process that's going to bring real justice and alleviate disadvantage and bring harmony to the relations between the state and First Peoples.